You're here at Scoutfest 2021, South Yorkshire Scouts virtual camp.
World Scout Jamborees come up every few years, and a lot of people aren't really sure about what they're made up of, how often they are, how to apply, what you might do when you're on them. So we spoke with Adam and Abby, who've been on a couple of World Scout Jamborees previously, to find out what they had to say. Ready?
Yep.
So a WSJ, or a World Scout Jamboree, what is it?
So it's basically a big worldwide camp for scouts. It's basically a big time when scouts all come together.
It happens every 4 years.
Yeah, and basically just camp together and experience scouting life together.
So is it limited to the country that you're in? So if they're coming together, those young people?
No, so it's worldwide, so scouts from all over the world come to just one big campsite.
There's 167 countries that come along to it. So it's huge, about 40,000 I think it said, something like that.
It's quite some number. So
Yeah.
of that, I mean, there must be some kind of selection criteria. Not everybody can go, right? So how is it that you can get to attend, or got to go?
There was different rounds, wasn't there, or like different sections that you had to do. So the first one was pretty easy, like you just applied online. Most people got through that, unless you put something. And then, what was the second one?
You had to go for a interview and to do some sort of activity to show.
Oh, a skill, wasn't it?
Skill,
you had to show a skill to
skill.
scouts. You did.
Okay.
And then they just kind of picked the best ones, the best people that could work well in a team. That could get the most out of the experience, really.
So it sounds like you were in a bit of an assessment centre then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'd go along maybe on a weekend somewhere like this.
Yeah.
I actually did come up here.
Yeah.
I came to Sheffield. I did to do mine because they were dotted about all over the country.
Okay.
And Sheffield was my one that I went to.
That's quite key though, because were you not being for necessarily round here and coming there?
No,
So the meeting
about
people.
2 hours away. Yeah.
So did you end up coming and doing that assessment and then going with knowing the people, or with a totally
No.
different crowd?
No, I just I didn't know anybody. So obviously you meet people on the different assessments and things, and like you make friends, but like that's it. Pretty much you leave. And I met my people, because every flight had the people that you'd go on to do the post tour with or whatever. And you'd be on the flight with them. That's who I met, and they were on the same jobs as me. Some of them were.
Okay.
So it's very different as well, because
you had
like I had a different experience in meeting people as well. Like most of the people that were on the selection camps and stuff that I was on weren't on. I didn't actually get selected and weren't actually there. You didn't have the time to become friends with them, to know them well enough as well. But then I went as a participant to Japan rather than IST when I went to America, and you kind of went on the selection weekends and you built up that friendship because it was a whole weekend of selection camps. So you did meet friends at that in that stage, and then you went on. You were put into a section that for like a good 2 years you kind of built up these great friendships with, and they became like your Jamboree family before you went.
So they're the contingents then you're talking about?
That's the contingent, that's the young people that the camp's for, and then we went as IST, which is International Service Team, and to help run the camp in America as well.
Okay, so you said you both had very different experiences, didn't you, as part of that and the lead up to it, spanning a number of years. And you also mentioned about post event, so you'd gone out to, whereabouts did you go? Because you went to Japan, where did you?
So after the Jamboree, because the only Jamboree I've been to is this one, so after that we all went to Washington DC, didn't we? Just to celebrate that we all did it, really. And there was different options to travel after that, and I went to New York and Boston Whereas you didn't go there, did you? You went to
Canada.
yeah. So there was different options. There's like New Mexico, things like that. You could
How was it
just choose.
decided then that what you
could
would
just
do?
You could pick which one you wanted to do.
So there was I suppose choosing your GCSEs or otherwise you
Yeah.
got your options, you got to
And
decide
it-
which one you're going to
yeah,
go and do,
and
that group
extra
doing
costs and things like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
You decided whether to do it or not.
it. So,
A couple of people I knew didn't even do that. They just
Yeah.
went straight home after Washington DC. They did.
but I guess you'd recommend doing the Boltons either side.
Oh,
well
yeah.
worth it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I suppose that brings the financial aspect to it, doesn't it? Of it.
Yeah.
It's quite costly. You're talking Japan, not particularly close to the UK.
Yeah,
The
no.
States, not eitherwise, but probably cheaper flights to get there, given Florida and otherwise.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to go on a jamboree in typically?
So Japan was about 3,000, which is a daunting figure, but it was all money that you could fundraise because it's an opportunity of a lifetime. That £3,000 isn't just all your costs. You're also helping to pay for other people in other countries that aren't as fortunate to go.
Okay.
Um,
Does that tie in then? So you said it was at 200 countries. So I'm assuming those are less affluent. So
Yeah.
what are some of those countries that might benefit? Do you know any of those?
sort of like your third world countries, sort
Yeah,
of like
Okay.
Yeah.
scouts from all over the world. So like I think like Uganda and stuff. It's a much poorer country.
Hmm.
They obviously couldn't afford to necessarily
Yeah.
go. So us paying like the £100-200 each extra,
Yeah,
then helped fund
tops
their.
that up. They have like
Yeah,
a
their
nominal
side.
fee to take part, and I
Yeah.
assume probably the same kind of selection that you've gone through, but
Yeah,
country
I
specific.
assume so.
They have a less amount of scouts in them countries as
Yeah.
well, so there's less scouts to select from as well. But I think there's probably definitely some selection process for them as well.
Still a big opportunity. So those people that you're effectively subsidising in order to go, like the Ghanaians who might not be as affluent, so some of your monies goes towards that. Did you meet anybody who fell into that category whilst on the jamboree?
So on the last jamboree in America, I was in the service team. My role was to the climbing, and that was like instructing and helping the kids climb and everything. And we came across quite a few kids from Africa or something like that, which were obviously a lot less fortunate than us. You could tell from the clothing they were wearing and stuff. And they didn't have shoes. They didn't wear shoes where they were from, and they didn't wear shoes in America either. And you could just tell from being like them seeing the climbing wall. You were giving them that lifetime
Something never done
experience,
before.
something they've
Assume
never
not
done.
bothered at all, not culturally aware or
No,
concerned about
no.
the fact that no shoes, they were just
No,
stuck in and happy to be there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
How about a language barrier then?
that was hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, really hard.
Yeah.
There was a few times, they'd climb the wall and then get stuck, and you'd have no way of getting them down, and then climbing up and like sort of
Pulling
pulling
them
them
off the
down the
wall,
wall
really,
because
okay.
you couldn't talk to them.
Yeah.
You couldn't teach them because they can't understand your language, sort of thing.
Okay, so other than those who are obviously less fortunate, did you meet many other people from around the globe? You mentioned it was a big event. How many people were we talking?
About 40,000 people there.
Oh, wow.
So I'm quite friendly still with a guy from the Netherlands
Mm.
and then a guy from Slovakia as well. We're all quite close. We always chat and things, don't we? You've met them a couple of times on Zoom and things, obviously because of COVID.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so you meet these
Yeah.
friends and they become friends for life from all over the
Definitely.
world. Doesn't matter where they're from, you're meeting with people from places in Europe or Australia. It doesn't matter, you're just all one big scouting family and you just become friends with them all. It doesn't, the language barrier sometimes doesn't even matter, you can still communicate with them because they know a bit of English.
Shared experiences. I
And
imagine,
shared
as well,
experiences
yeah.
and stuff.
You
And
become so close, even with like a girl I met was from Sheffield, so only a couple of hours away from where I was. And we met each other one day, spent many hours together chatting, giggling and things. And the next day people were like, "Oh, have you met before?" And we were like, "No, we literally met yesterday," because you become so close with them so quickly because of the like situation you're in. And, like you're so like-minded because obviously you all apply for the same thing. And you're into the same things. It's great.
Did you have that view as to what it would be when you went versus what it was like when you got there? Did they?
I had
correlate or
no
not?
idea what it was going to be like. I applied because my friend went to the Japan one, because that was my first jamboree, the American one. And she said, "Oh, I think you'll love it. Just apply and see what happens." So, like, obviously, I applied. First stage, got through, and thought, "Oh, here we go." Second stage, got through that, and I just didn't know what to expect at all. She didn't really tell me much. So when I got there, I just didn't really know, and it was great, obviously, but I have no expectations of what it would be like at all.
How about you, Adam?
Well, mine was a bit different because growing up in scouting my entire life, you know, the group I was from, quite a few people used to go to jamborees from that. So London, well, before London, you know, they were going to jamborees before then, and London, Sweden. My brother went to Sweden, and then I went to Japan. So my brother told me all about Sweden, and it just sounded amazing. Like this big, massive camp. You know, you've been on camps to Hesley Wood or Squirrel Wood or something, but this is like millions times bigger.
It's so hard to explain
Yeah.
how huge it is.
I imagine it's like a small town.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
How does it all enclosed? And does it take a long time to get from one side to the
They
other?
had buses in America,
In America,
to get
they-
to,
yeah.
like, because I was on the zip line,
Okay.
that was my job role. So I had to get a bus from my camp there every day. You were
Yeah.
at the climbing, so you had to get a different bus there
Yeah.
because you take hours to walk
Yeah,
anywhere.
and in like the streets and stuff, there's like supermarkets and stuff in
Yeah.
marquees that they've put up, which have got
Which
like
is-
food and everything
yeah,
in like a
also
normal
like souvenirs,
supermarket.
things
Yeah.
like that. It was just crazy. It was
Yeah.
it was like a town, wasn't it?
I
Really?
imagine quite impressive from above.
Oh yeah.
Did you get to see any
Definitely.
photos of that?
I think
There's
yeah, they
been a
did like
few,
aerial shots
yeah.
of it, and it was like the one in America was like the size of the campsite was like the outer ring road of York and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which gives you a kind of scale of the site and stuff.
When it comes to getting enough funds together for that, you know, they're not nearby, are they, Japan and America?
No.
And the weather's quite different too. How did you go about raising that money?
So as an IST member,
Yeah.
You could get support from local groups and help out with like the participants and things, couldn't you? But I did a fundraising event like singly at the Greyhound Racing in a local town. I raised about £700 for that, and
Just in the one night?
yeah, just on the one night.
pretty significant, yeah.
Because they did it in instalments each. For like £3,000, you could pay it off in instalments. Some people paid it off, I think, in one whole. But
Wow.
yeah, it was obviously tricky for some people. So that paid for one instalment. Whereas as a participant, I don't know.
No,
You went.
there's so many ways that you can raise money and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think it's so much easier as a participant as well. You know, when I went, I was like 14 when I found out I was going and stuff, and 14, and you're hearing the figures of £3,000 being bashed about and everything, and it's like,
Doesn't really mean
well,
nothing
my
to
parents
you
can't,
that
my
age.
parents won't be able to afford to throw
Yeah.
£3,000 at me to be able to go on this trip of a lifetime, but you know, you can fundraise it, you can get the support from your groups. When you go as a participant, you've got the your unit, and you kind of do a lot of fundraising with them and stuff, so you can go backpacking or do a race night with them and things like that.
What do you
Get the
think
money
worked
in
the
that.
best for you then? I mean, you're £700, fantastic there.
Yeah.
But you were raising fee for you, weren't you,
Yeah.
individually? Whereas Adam, you were slightly different. As a
different,
collective, you raised
As a
that
collective,
money.
the best was probably backpacking, to be honest with you. It
Real
was
value for time.
yeah. But for me, on my fundraising thing was probably a sponsored walk. Did the lightweight walk, 40 miles in 24 hours, and raised like nearly £1,000. It was over weeks, and then you had to do the walk at the end of it all, and then collect the sponsorships. But it's
It's all
a
part of the
third of your
experience
third
as
of your
well.
fundraising as well, isn't it? And it's something that
And it
you'll
builds
never
up the
forget.
excitement.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to ask, is did you get to a point when you were trying to raise that significant money of going, I just can't do it, it's not enough, and sort of get a little bit disillusioned? It sounds like you didn't, because
Yeah.
you had the experience, it was the journey you're on. Did you find many people did get that, or did everyone
I think
stick
there was
through?
a lot of working together. You know, it didn't matter that somebody was behind and not raising as much, you kind of just worked together and had a collective fund really at times and stuff.
Or bought into that.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
as like IST as well, because like a lot of people didn't fundraise, they paid out their wages or whatever they did. A lot of, like a girl I met on one of the camps from a local town, that's the only person I knew before, but she dropped out because she couldn't afford to do it. She didn't have the time to fundraise or anything either. So it does happen. Some people just can't afford to do it, but it's just the way it is sometimes.
Exactly. Oh, and as you say, 14 to 18 years old, which is, as I understand, the bracket for young people who are participants,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the support side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got exams, you've got selections you make for going to college or sixth form.
Yeah, it's a stressful time.
Exactly, pretty significant. How did you combat that or address that?
I remember being hard. I think you've got that thing to look forward to, and you've just got to try and obviously don't let it take over. You've got that thing to look forward to as well, so try really hard for that, but you know you're getting a really good time, a lifetime experience.
And for you, obviously,
Staying
having
for
family and others gone through it, you knew
Yeah.
it would be worth it.
Yeah, definitely, and it definitely was. Yeah.
So we talked quite a bit about what you did before it, the fundraising. Talked a little bit about after the event and maybe a bit before and the wraparound. What do you actually do when you're on the Jamboree?
So it is a massive camp, so obviously there's loads of activities to do. There's the opening ceremony. You imagine an opening ceremony at a
Any
scout camp
Yeah.
here, and then times it by
It gave me
100 times.
goosebumps when
yeah.
I walked in.
Yeah,
Like, obviously
it's-
I'd never seen anything and this many people in my life.
Yeah,
Like,
big
standing
massive
all
like
there.
festival stage
Yeah.
sort of vibe and everything.
Could cry
um,
when I walked in there.
With
though.
all like the ceremony and everything, it goes on for like an hour.
Yeah.
So the ceremonies are a big thing on the Jamborees. You know, you've got like the opening, the culture, and the closing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cultural things
yeah.
to do while you're there and everything.
At the culture one, they had the Disney like performers and things. What are they? Like shows. Yeah, from the theatre and stuff. The Disney theatre.
Broadway.
Broadway. That was it. Broadway. They came and performed at the ceremony.
Yeah. And I remember like in Japan they had like the cultural Japanese bands and stuff, and then they had like the African drummers and everything.
So a full mix of experience. So it's not just like going on a camp there locally, but on a larger scale, it's a phenomenal opportunity both in what you can do, who you can meet, and the things you get up to there. What's your favourite memory from that then? So.
I think my one, because like they based a lot of it on culture, obviously, and different countries and things. Each country had their different tents, didn't they, to represent their country. Like obviously the UK, we did fish and chips.
Oh right, so like a market stall, you could go around and see people.
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
okay.
you could see it. And my friend from Holland, we went there and we did a quiz night and things, and we all had a bit of like it was like a massive party really, with like music. We all had a massive dance, things like that. That was my favourite memory. It was.
Oh, it sounds good.
Right,
And
yeah.
bringing your stuff, but experience other people's
Yeah.
as well. How about you, Adam?
I think probably one of my favourite memories is like probably back in Japan, the Jamboree in Japan. It was back on Culture Day and everything, and every unit that went, because you go in a group of 40 people, like 36 young people and 4 adult leaders.
Okay.
So there's like loads of these groups. Some are a bit smaller depending on the country and stuff, but mainly it's a group of 40 people, and you'd have these little camps and everything. And on Culture Day, each group cooked a little meal and everything. So on the Culture Day, you got to go around and try all different cuisines and like meals and everything. So we did fish and chips, obviously, and everything.
It's an all-you-can-eat buffet by the sound of it.
Yeah,
like,
you
going
went around and tasting everything.
It was great,
Yeah,
though.
really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're walking
when they
through.
did
You
it
walk
back,
it
yeah.
like it's a little town. It's a big town. And everything.
just like a
Walking through the thing, and
market.
everyone's like banging their drums and playing their instruments and singing the songs and everything.
Massive atmosphere. And
yeah.
that's from what you said about the goosebumps, the other sides of it, it's the atmosphere,
Yeah,
the memory of
yeah.
that. Did you find you spent much time taking pictures and capturing it, or did you spend most of it in the moment, or a balance thereof? It's difficult, I guess.
have thousands of photos, so I did a bit of both. Like at the open ceremony, each country, the flag would come up on the screen and they'd all be like, yeah, woo! And I managed to capture the UK contingent all standing up and screaming, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I got that video. It's just, it's hard to describe how big it is and how many people are there, and like obviously it tries to capture as much as you can, don't you?
Yeah.
But
So
you try and switch off from technology anyway when you're there.
Yeah. I mean, I am quite into photography and everything, so I took my camera with me, but to be honest, it stayed in my bag most of the time. I didn't really get it out that much because you don't want to be carrying something like that around with you all the time, because it weighs you down on having a good time, and you're kind of wasting the time when you could be in the moment enjoying yourself. So
When is the next World Scout Jamboree?
2023.
Yeah.
Where is that?
South Korea.
Wow. Not North Korea. No. South Korea 2023. So who would apply for that? You said 14 to 18. Can you be 13 now, or what's the criteria around that?
So it's
14 to 18?
on the dates of the Jamboree, you have to be 14 to 18. So you have to be under 18 before you go, but you can turn 18 while you're there.
Okay.
So you're not quite there, but you will be 14 before you go, or on the day you go or whatever, you can apply.
Okay.
And as a participant, but then there's so many opportunities for people older than 18 to apply as well. So like for us, we both went to America as international service team, and that's 18 to 100.
Yeah, I had a lady in my tent who was actually best friends with a guy in your tent. I think she was like 65 or something, weren't she? And I think the guy was about that age too.
Yeah, not a bit
and
older.
they just, like, I think they worked in a shop, didn't they? So it wasn't too straining
There's no
on
real
them,
age
but
barrier, is there,
No,
to that
no.
at all?
And that's the same again, isn't it? That you might not be 18 now, but as long as you're 18 the day you go or something, you can still
take part in
still
that.
take part in that.
Fantastic.
But then there's other opportunities where you could be a sectional leader and everything. So if you're like a leader that wants to do a bit more in scouting and stuff, well then be part of that and take a group of young people to a jamboree, take 36 people to a jamboree and apply to be a leader with your county.
Guide them and support them
And
on
guide
your
them.
experiences, definitely.
Or if you're a bit more into the management side of things,
Yeah.
there's opportunities to apply to be part of the contingent team, to be able to manage the UK contingent and everything. So many opportunities for people to apply.
So where are those contingents pulled together? Because you said Peterborough.
Yeah.
So the 40, would you generally all be in the same area? So in South Yorkshire, would there be a contingent? or a
Yeah.
number of,
So it's county-wise.
Okay.
They tend to separate it up, but then sometimes they have a few more numbers and stuff, so they might make an extra unit out of like 2 counties or something.
Yeah.
So you might think there's only 36 people going from yours. What's the point in applying? Because I'm not going to get to that 36. Well, actually, there is point in applying because you might still make it, because they might extend the numbers or something. It's not just 36 people from your county. There's a lot of opportunities there to go.
Excellent. I've just got one final question then. So if you could go back and you could put your teeth in. So I've got one final question then. So if you could go back and speak with your younger self, so we're talking prior to you actually going on that event, what would you tell yourself now you've been through all of that?
I think I'd probably tell myself to try and encourage more people to apply and go as well, so they haven't missed out on this awesome experience that I've managed to experience twice.
I don't know what. I think that's a good one actually.
Have you stolen what you were going to say?
Yeah. There were I was the only one from my group or like my area that went. So obviously I would want more people from there to go, and I did do a few like talks and things like that after to encourage people. But I think it's just difficult, isn't it?
I think if you're thinking about it, just apply.
Yeah.
Make an application.
Yeah, just
give it
do
a go.
it because You make lifelong friends. You really do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. Hopefully, if there's any more questions we get come in, we'll get another opportunity to fire them across to you and maybe answer on our social media channels. So yeah, thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby.
Thanks.